Very good. Welcome. All right. So I would like to welcome everyone to tonight's Department of Surgery graduation event. I want to welcome everybody who is here in the audience and everybody who's connected remotely. You cannot see the remote audience, but they are all connected. So I really want to just welcome everyone to this event. We're here to celebrate our graduating residents and fellows from this department. So a couple of housekeeping items before we start. So first, by the way, if you could please put your cell phones on vibrate, that would be great. Pagers on vibrate, that would be great. Everyone's like going to their phones now. I'll give you a minute. And then our remote audience, while they are doing that, the remote audience is going to be muted. If the remote audience has any questions or comments or there's any technical problems, we're going to be monitoring the chat box. So please feel free to use that chat box so that we can address if there's any issues. Now, while we're in here, I am going to ask that when you're in the audience, we need to wear our masks per our UNC policy. When you're up here, you do not need to wear your mask at the podium or when you're taking your photo. So otherwise, we do need to make sure that we're maintaining the rules. I also want to let everyone know that we're recording this event. And we will post this event, so if anybody misses it and they want to watch it later, we will have a recording. Now, I really want to appreciate the people who worked behind the scenes to make this happen once we learned that we were able to actually do this in our space. And so a special thanks goes to Joelle and Buckio, who's standing over here. Mulaney, I don't see Mulaney. Kathy, are they still in the room? In the control room, and then also Elizabeth, who is not here, and then Deb, who is in the back. So round of applause, because they really did a lot of work. So tonight, we are really here to be recognizing all of our graduating residents and our fellows. And of course, our residents have been with us for quite some time. Our fellows have been with us for a little bit shorter of a period. But tonight is really a huge milestone for all of you who are graduating. Now, there's several things that our graduates are going to receive in recognition of all of their accomplishments and tonight. So the first is hopefully all of the graduates near your bottles, you should have this envelope. So this is because we could not do this event with food. This is a dinner for two on us, so we hope that you guys enjoy. You guys all hopefully selected your restaurant that you wanted to go to. You will also receive that bottle of champagne that has your name on it, so make sure you guys go home and use that to toast. And then you're going to be getting a lot of other gifts, your Womack certificate, your Womack pin, your graduation diploma, and of course all of you will get your own engraved Old Well, which I think is really, really cool. And hopefully you guys will all display that. So I want to also thank all of the faculty, the friends, the family who are here, the family that's connected remotely, the significant others, the alumni, everybody who is here in support of our graduates tonight in person and virtually. Now, with that, I would like to ask our graduates, I'd like all the remote audience to unmute, and I'd like our graduates, all 16, to stand up for a round of applause and a nice little photo. So stand up, graduates. All right, so before we get to our graduates, every year we have three pretty significant awards that we get to give out for this department. And so this is these are three really nice awards that I really particularly enjoy having the privilege to give out. So let's start with the first one. So the first award is the Herbert J. Proctor Award for Excellence in Surgical Research. So in recognition of Dr. Herbert J. Proctor's lifetime professional career in general and vascular surgery and his dedication to basic science research by young investigators, the Herbert Jennings Proctor Research Endowment was established at the request of the Proctor family to recognize surgical residents conducting original and innovative research. So to be eligible for this award, basically you just need to be a surgery resident in one of our training programs here in this department conducting original and innovative research. The group who voted on the recipient of this were all of the faculty in the department who have federal funding. So those are the folks who voted on this. Now, one thing that gives me great pleasure is I did something this year for all 3 of these awards that we're giving out. I upped the ante. It was about time. Looking at the finances of this, these awards were around $2,500 to $3,000. All 3 of these awards are now $5,000. Okay. So that should be a trend going forward until somebody else decides to change it. So, the recipient, do I have the... Yes. And this might actually not be the real check, or did this end up being the real check? Well, because I changed the dollar amount in the last week and a half. So you will see what's in the envelope. Check maybe in the mail. I don't know. All right. So the recipient of the Herbert J. Proctor Award for Excellence in Surgical Research goes to Laura Purcell. All right. Something's on the floor. What was that? Okay. All right, so the next award is the Max Sheeble Award for Surgical Professionalism. So the Max Sheeble Award is given to a graduating resident or fellow who is considered technically the most proficient in skill with surgical procedures. So this award is for all of the graduates that I just mentioned. Here, the voting body are all faculty in the entire Department of Surgery. This award is also $5,000. Do you have the plaque? Okay, so this is not the real check. This is the check that will be coming in the mail. So there is a piece of paper in here. So this award, again, was voted on by all of the faculty in the department. Goes to Hadley Kitchen Wilson. All right, the last of the 3 awards. This is the Nathan A. Womack Scholar Award. So the Nathan A. Womack Scholar Award is given in honor of Dr. Nathan Womack, our first chair of the department, to an outstanding graduating chief resident or fellow in the Department of Surgery who shows excellence in teaching, investigation, and patient care. The graduate must have demonstrated a significant contribution to the training program and to the Department of Surgery through their activities. And lastly, their personal attributes should reflect credit on the Department of Surgery and the training program. So again, all graduating residents and fellows are eligible. This time, it's all residents and fellows voted. No faculty, so you guys all voted on this one. Again, $5,000. And the recipient of the Nathan A. Womack Scholar Award is Hadley Kitchen Wilson.
You're definitely taking us all out to dinner.
Two quick flicks, just like that. One.
Okay, so now it is time for the tradition of the white owl. So I'd like to invite Dr. David Gerber, our Vice Chair of Clinical Affairs, to tell us a little bit about the white owl.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kibbe, and thank you, everybody, for being here. It's always fun to be at the graduation ceremony. So I want to share the history of the white owl and what it represents to our department. The white owl is a tradition that began at UCSF in the 70s and was brought to UNC by Drs. George Sheldon, Tony Meyer, and Chip Baker. Two of those are former chairs. The tradition evolved that people would give a white owl award if they performed a negative appendectomy or a negative trauma operation. One explanation was that a normal appendix was thin and white and reminded people of the white owl cigar. Most people here have probably never seen a white owl cigar, but that is what it looked like. Another version was that the anesthesiologist would bet the surgeons a white owl cigar that the operation was going to be a negative appy. Independent of how it began, the white owl tradition centered on having the strength of character to admit one's mistakes and the wisdom to learn from those mistakes. It also stressed the importance of camaraderie and teamwork. While all of us are familiar with Alexander Pope's quote, "To err is human, to forgive is divine," we have learned in medicine that it is human to make mistakes, but it's unacceptable to fail to learn from those mistakes. What separates excellent surgeons from average ones is not the speed of their movements, but rather how well they make decisions about when to operate, what operations to do, and when not to operate. Thus, it is with great honor that we recognize our incoming chief residents with the White Owl pin. So I'll begin by announcing those who are here. The first one is Dr. Emily Barnes, if you could come up. The next one is Dr. Stephanie Lumpkin. Is Dr. Emily Newton here? Okay, she's on nights. Okay. Dr. Laura Purcell. And I think I see Dr. Emily Wirtz in the back. And is Dr. Shuting Zhang here? She was having car problems. Okay. All right. So, and for those, a round of applause for the ones who weren't able to make it today. Dr. Mary Kate Bryant. Dr. Kathy Marilanda. Dr. Kathy McDermott. All right. Thank you all very much.
Words on graduation. So again, we're really here because we're honoring the 16 of you graduates who are here and have been in this department for some for many years, some for as few as 1 year. But, you know, for all of you, I think the path to becoming a surgeon, you know, it's either reached its conclusion and you're going to be done, or you're about to be done with another maybe 1 or 2 more years of training. But I would say for all of you guys, tonight really does mark the end of a journey that I know has been really exciting, but at the same time has been a tremendous amount of work. So for the graduates, I want you guys to reflect. Can you remember when you first realized you wanted to be a doctor? Can you remember? Dr. Myers, can you remember way back when? Yeah, I know I can. And can you remember when you guys first realized you wanted to be a surgeon, not just a doctor? So now think of today and how you're feeling today, now that you're nearly done. And do you feel that your feelings today are commensurate with what you were hoping for many years ago when you decided this path? I know for me that personally, there hasn't been a single day that has gone by that I am not extremely excited about being a surgeon. And I truly do believe that this is an amazing career path. You know, being able to care for patients when they're sick and in need is just incredibly rewarding. I think we all know that. Being able to train the next generation that follows us is a profound responsibility and a privilege. Being able to train all of you guys. And being able to impact how we care for our patients through innovative research is a true honor. So I hope that all of those things have come full circle for you if you're thinking about the day when you decided you wanted to be a doctor and a surgeon. So you've all learned so much through your training, through your residency training and your fellowship training. You've gained knowledge, you've gained technical skills, communication abilities, and you have all developed professionally. And we see it, and it's amazing and fun to watch. This past year, obviously with the COVID pandemic, has really brought a lot of challenges that none of us could have predicted. But we have really learned a lot of important messages from the pandemic. One, we have really learned that we need to take care of ourselves, and that's really important. Spending more time at home with your family and your loved ones is a really good thing. We don't really need to travel as much as we did in the past. And I am sure pretty much everyone's learned how to cook a meal they never cooked in their lives before. I can definitely attest to that. But most importantly, we have learned how to support one another better through this pandemic. So again, becoming a surgeon is a really long journey, and all of you guys know that. There's intense years of training from 4 years of high school to 4 years of undergrad to 4 years of medical school, 5 to 8 years of residency, and then for some of you, 1 to 2 years of a fellowship. It is a very long path. And your accomplishments and graduation today is in recognition of your very long journey. It's also in recognition of the long hours, the sleepless nights, the uncertainty, the hard work, the anxiety, and the sacrifices that you guys have all made. But trust me, despite the hard work and all of that, you really have chosen well. This is an amazing profession, and it's an incredibly rewarding career. And I hope you all leave UNC knowing that. Now, I know you did not go on this journey alone. During your time at UNC, your work has been supported by others, your family and your friends who have sacrificed right alongside you. So I would like to take a moment to really honor all the mothers and the fathers and the grandparents and the siblings and the significant others, the friends, your children, everyone who's been on this journey with you. So let's do a round of applause for all of those individuals. It's also a time to acknowledge the deep bonds you have formed here with your fellow colleagues, your other residents and fellows, with faculty, with mentors, and with anyone who's participated in your career development. You guys, your future is really, really bright. It really is. And it shines with infinite possibilities. I can say that we will all miss you, and we will all remember you. And again, I say this every year, we just hope that you're going to carry a little bit of the Carolina blue with you wherever you go. So with that, you guys, congratulations to all of our graduates. Now, as you know, you're not done, even though you might be leaving UNC. So once you graduate, you become a member of the Womack Society. And so Dr. Bobby Mendez, who's the president of our Nathan A. Womack Surgical Society, couldn't be here today, but he recorded a video. So if we could play that video, that would be wonderful.
First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Kibbe for allowing me to speak a little bit tonight about the Womack Society. For those of you that don't know, the Womack Society is basically an alumni society of the University of North Carolina Surgery Department, which all of you tonight are now alumni. And so therefore, first of all, we would like to offer congratulations and a job well done. We are very proud of what you've been able to do at the University of North Carolina. And more importantly, I'm sure that you yourself will be very proud when you look back and see what you've been able to accomplish while you were here. If you do, if you can, just for a brief moment here, look around at some of the professors and some of your attendings that you work with over the course of the last 5 to 7 years, and recognize, as I did after leaving the University of North Carolina, that the individuals that you have worked with for the last few years are some of the best you'll ever find in the country. Your training here was some of the best that you will ever receive, and without a doubt, when you go out into your private practice or to your academic role, you will notice that you are by far one of the best trained individuals in your profession. And so take that with you, knowing that you have one of the best experiences, and you will look back at this with great memories, especially also with some of the individuals that you were sharing it with. The same residents that you went through this program with are the same ones that are going to be your good friends for the remainder of your career and your life. And remember, there are times when you're going to reach out to somebody that's a friend of yours or a part of this alumni society, and you're going to want a little bit of help for one of your nephews to get into school, or maybe a niece to do something, and we're here for you. And that's what we're here to do, is to support you and to help each other. So at the end of the day, I want to extend a tremendous amount of gratitude for what you've done while at UNC hospitals and the care of the patients that you've been able to provide. And we're very proud of you, and thank you very much for what you've been able to do and accomplish. Welcome to the Womack Society.
So all of you, as I mentioned before, when you get your gift, you're going to receive the certificate for the Womack Society in addition to the pin. All right, so now we're going to start our introduction of our graduating fellows. And so I asked Dr. Jen Raw, who's going to come up and introduce our critical care fellows. Dr. Raw.
So good evening. I want to thank our fellows for another wonderful year, despite the pandemic and all the challenges that it brought. I also especially want to thank them for all their tireless effort and support for our COVID ECMO patients. It was tremendously hard, long hours, and they did a great job, and we couldn't have done it without them. This year we'll be graduating 3 fellows instead of our usual 2 due to our military-civilian partnership with the U.S. Army and Womack Medical Center at Fort Bragg. Our first fellow from that partnership is Lieutenant Colonel Dave Hardin. You know, yes. You know, it's never easy to transition back to civilian work life, but to transition back to being a trainee after being faculty for several years is never easy as well. But Dave took it in stride. He is very humble and grateful and just an awesome person to be around. And if you've ever spoken to him, he's got many interesting and incredible stories from the battlefield. I've been asked many times from staff about trying to keep Dave here. And although it would be great to have him, we should be very thankful that he will be returning back to Womack to care for our men and women in uniform and protecting our freedom. When he's not working and serving, Dave spends his free time with his wonderful and supportive wife, Carissa, and their 6 kids, Daniel, Caroline, Mark, Thomas, Abigail, and the apple of his eye, Adeline. Dave, we will miss you. We wish you and your family great success in the future and many great things, and we will look forward to our ongoing military-civilian partnership. So congratulations.
You'll see why. You guys are, I'm going to keep all your certificates. You'll get them all.
So our second fellow is Sarah Scarlet, whom we were very lucky to keep here at UNC after completing her general surgery residency here. Sarah was a stellar resident with a passion of surgical critical care, palliative care, and she continued on that trajectory as a fellow. In addition to accomplishing another milestone by completing her fellowship, she became a mother of an adorable boy named Shrey, who I believe is here tonight. I've not heard him yet, so I'm hoping he's still here with us. Although it would have been wonderful to keep her here at UNC, she found bright green pastures at The Ohio State University to join the robust and busy trauma program. She's also taking with her her husband, Oshik Banerjee, a fantastic SICU pharmacist. What will we do without our on-call personal pharmacist and human PubMed? We have no doubts that you will both have ongoing success, and they are lucky to have you there in Ohio. So we will miss you. We wish you all the best, and please stay close. And our third fellow is Andrew Schneider. We were very fortunate to match Andrew in surgical critical care and his wife Simone in neonatology from the University of Chicago. And they brought with their adorable daughter Eliana in tow. We knew Andrew had promised when he interviewed with us, and as we were waiting for his arrival, we received a letter from one of his faculty that during the pandemic he rose up to the challenge and became a leader and helped them through that difficult time. And so this showed us his character and helped shape his future here at UNC. During his fellowship, Andrew continued to show us that he has what it takes to be an academic trauma surgeon and that he will step up to challenges that arise. And he's an excellent team player. So as no surprise, we couldn't let him leave Chapel Hill. So Andrew will join our faculty when he graduates. Congratulations, Andrew, and welcome to the club.
Dr. Farrell, who's going to come up. Yep, our minimally invasive fellow.
Thanks, Dr. Kibbe. I'm presenting on behalf of my partner, Dr. Zhao, who couldn't be here today, and the rest of the SRZ Upper GI Surgery team. Thanks to you, Dr. Kibbe, and the department for supporting this fellowship, and to Dr. Guillaume, our division chief, and also to our wonderful interns and PGY force who worked with our service all throughout the year. A little bit of background about Jeff Lippmann, who's our graduating fellow. Jeff was an undergraduate at the University of Pennsylvania. He went to medical school at Thomas Jefferson University, and he did his general surgery residency at the Montefiore Medical Center. Jeff grew up in the Philadelphia area. His mother, Dr. Terry Lippmann, is an assistant dean and endowed professor at the Penn School of Nursing. And she's an administrator, clinician, and a funded researcher there. Jeff's father, Dr. Mark Lippmann, is a busy optometrist in southern New Jersey and an excellent role model on the clinical side for Jeff. Jeff's brother, Steve Lippmann, is a stand-up comedian and actor and a columnist, and it's clear to see that where Jeff gets his academic, clinical, and sense of humor skills. Jeff's significant other is Shannon Kiesling, who's with us today. Shannon is a rising clinical PGY3, but she's completed 2 years in the lab in a basic science laboratory at Montefiore. This relationship must be the real thing because the two of them must have made about 25 to 30 trips back and forth on weekends. And I guess after you've been caring for ICU patients in New York City during COVID, the airline trip was not such a scare. Jeff academically is a true intellectual. He's the kind of guy who gets 99 plus on all of his standardized tests. He was an American College of Surgeons Jeopardy winner, and this year he passed the orals and the writtens in that order, which is unusual. He worked on several projects. He's got 4 national presentations that are upcoming, several manuscripts underway, and he gives really wonderful presentations at M&M and Journal Club with great multimedia. Thank you for that. Clinically, Jeff has strong starting skills. He came from Scott Melvin's program. His other mentors included Jenny Choi and Diego Camacho, and we heard their names many times in the operating room. And he made great progress with over 150 bariatric cases, 150 foregut cases, 80 or so endoscopic procedures, 25 to 30 robot cases. I'm not really sure of the numbers because his case log is into middle of March, so we'll see about that. Personally, Jeff is beloved by the faculty, the nurses, the support staff, and everyone around him. How will I remember Jeff? Great clinical outcomes. He's well-liked by patients and colleagues, and he has less than optimal GI tract function. He has easy hiccup reflux with any small amount of carbonated beverages, like the ginger ale you get from the PCSA. He can leave an operating room faster than anyone to get to the bathroom for a gastroenteritis episode. But he's also the kind of guy that residents and attendings will bring Zofran right to his apartment to make him feel better. Jeff's a great surgeon. His future is very bright. He's going to be going to the NYU Bellevue program as an academic bariatric and MIS surgeon, and he's going to have academic and clinical roles there. We're very excited to be welcoming Manuel Sanchez Casalange into our fellowship starting August 1st, and I know Dr. Zhao and I will miss Jeff in the operating room and in the clinics because of his brilliant mind, his excellent, skilled hands, his electronic music mix, and his great sense of humor. It is bittersweet, the end of a long apprenticeship year, and it is hard to find just the right words. Therefore, I asked our amazing PGY4 Rising Chief residents to help me describe Jeff in a pithy or artistic way, and I think Emily Barnes hit it best with her haiku. So, eclectic playlist, endless, that's what she said jokes. Fresh Prince of Bellevue. 575. Jeff's personality is bigger than Chapel Hill. It may be bigger than New York City. We're going to miss you, Jeff. Thanks for everything.
Next up is Dr. Olilla. Come up.
On behalf of the Division of Surgical Oncology, it is with great pleasure that I get to say a few words about Jeff Johnson. For those of you that may not know Jeff very well, he's got to be one of the most understated, intellectual, technically outstanding surgical oncology fellows that we have ever trained. I think the number of plans that Jeff and I were crafting during the pandemic so that he would have a job or he would have something to show next year had to be, we were down to plan F, G, H, but it was really clear that Jeff was in demand. And for those of you that had to be on the job search, Jeff had signed, sealed, and delivered a job at Mayo Rochester before Christmas. And I think that's a true testament to the surgical oncologists that we have trained. We are really, really proud of Jeff. And for me, on a personal level, Jeff represents a legacy. For those of you who may not know, Jeff trained with Armando Giuliano at Cedars, and that's where I did fellowship under Armando Giuliano when he was at the John Wayne. So for me, it was a crossing of worlds, and it was a fabulous 2 years to have Jeff with us. His wife, G, and his 2 daughters are blessed to have Jeff. They are going to the cold tundra. They have a home, and they are embracing it, and I am entirely without words to tell you how proud I am of you, Jeff. Congratulations.
Well, I have the distinct pleasure of probably presenting the only fellow that wasn't able to attend today. Many of you know Micah is headed out to his childhood friend's wedding today. So he's headed out towards the west for that. He wishes he could be here. Most of you know Micah because he's not very shy. He also is very willing to get his hands dirty and roll up his sleeves and help out. And I think everyone has witnessed that here during the last 2 years. And I think he represents what the camaraderie and cohesiveness of this department represents. So fortunately, Mike is not really leaving us. He's joining our sister practice at Rex. And so he will still be around. If you want to come, you can come to Friday conferences, and I'm sure that he will chime in when we have our conferences on Fridays to help continue the education. So, and you get a chance, thank him when you see him in the hall next couple weeks, and if you want, you'll see him at Rex if you guys get to go out there or when he's back here. Thank you. Thank Micah.
All right, so a round of applause for all of the fellows graduating from our program. All right, so next up is the first of our residency programs, and I'd like to invite Dr. Ben Havecock to come on up.
I have the distinct honor of presenting Hadley Wilson, one of our graduates from our I-6 program. For those who don't know, our integrated thoracic surgery residency program is an extremely competitive program. We get approximately 200 applicants a year for one spot. 6 years ago, we had the privilege of actually matching Hadley. He is a North Carolina product. Grew up in North Carolina. He did his undergraduate at Wake Forest. And then went on to do his medical school training at UNC, and we were fortunate enough to kind of keep him here at UNC to progress on for his cardiothoracic residency program. What's kind of cool about our program is that, you know, in the past it was a 9 or a 10-year training process, and then you sit for your boards. Now, 6 years later, Hadley is going to be an awesome cardiac and thoracic surgeon that's going to be up at Hardin. We also want to congratulate him for the birth of Georgia. I think it's his third child with him and his wife, Lauren, and so just congratulations to you. As you can tell earlier, we've shook hands at least a couple of times because of the awesomeness associated with Hadley. He is an awesome team player. He gets in there and really wants to help out. A phenomenal educator to not only our junior residents, but also our junior medical students as well. Really wants to embrace the mission of UNC of teaching, leading, and caring. Hadley is funny in a corny kind of way, tells these kind of bar kind of jokes, but you know, we can get into that later. But we are just so impressed and proud with Hadley Wilson, and we are, you know, definitely going to miss him, but we're so happy that he's going to stay within the North Carolina area. So congratulations, Hadley.
All right, so next up, I'm going to turn the podium over for a little bit to Dr. Mike Myers.
Thank you, Dr. Kibbe. Yeah, I think that's a good move. You should sit down. Don't worry, it's not really that many pages. It's a pleasure to be here, and welcome in particular to those who can't join us in person. I understand there's 30 some odd people joining virtually as well, so that's awesome. And it's such a pleasure to recognize this milestone for the 7 graduating general surgery residents. It's taken years of hard work and dedication to reach this stage, and we really are here to celebrate all of you.
But we're going to miss having you around. We've spent so many years getting to know you, not just as residents, as people, and so it's a bittersweet moment. In just a moment, I'm going to introduce each individual and tell you a little bit about them. But first, let me say a few words about the group, and in particular with regard to their training in general surgery. I mean no disrespect to any of the other graduates tonight. We're here to celebrate everybody's accomplishments, and I readily admit my own bias. But I believe the general surgery residents have the broadest set of skills in caring for patients in and out of the operating room of any trainee in this hospital. They are the polymaths of UNC. That word was used by someone at my daughter's high school graduation ceremony a couple weeks ago. And I know what at least some of you are thinking, and I'm right there with you. There certainly wasn't anybody using a word anything like that at my high school graduation. And after I looked it up and figured out what it meant, I thought it was the perfect term to describe a general surgery resident. For those who aren't familiar, a polymath is defined as a person of wide-ranging knowledge or learning. A pretty accurate description of graduating general surgery residents. Another way to put it might be that they are the Swiss Army knives of residents. And to get to this point, to have mastered such a broad domain hasn't always been easy. Everyone has faced challenges along the way, and you and your families have made plenty of sacrifices to accomplish this goal. But you've earned it, and we celebrate that accomplishment. As I thought about this event over the last few days and sat down to gather my thoughts last evening, I was reminded of a quote I came across after a book I read recently introduced me to Thomas Merton. He was a monk and writer who lived in the mid-20th century and became known for exploring the intersection of Eastern and Western religions. One of the quotes attributed to him that caught my attention is the following: "You do not need to know precisely what is happening or exactly where it is all going. What you need is to recognize the possibilities and challenges offered by the present moment and to embrace them with courage, faith, and hope." Although he was talking about life, I suspect that resonates professionally with many in this room, as we don't always know precisely what's happening as we're taking care of a sick patient. But I hope you recognize that everything you've done and all the time you spent getting to this point has made you ready to embrace those times of uncertainty in the future. Please accept my personal thanks for all your hard work and sacrifice over the years. While the next steps in the journey may not always be easy, just like the paths you've already traveled, you are remarkably well prepared, and please have confidence in that knowledge. We're going to miss you, and I would implore you to stay humble, stay curious, and please stay in touch. As a way of introducing our graduates, I've gone back through the archives and I'm trying to give you a snapshot of how they described themselves on their applications when they applied to residency 5, 6, 7 years ago. I find it entertaining to look back at who we thought they were back then, along with some of the interview comments. But more importantly, I'll follow that with a few comments about who they have become, which has been the fun part for us as we've gotten to know everyone as people. So the first person I'll introduce is Stacy Aubry. On her application, Stacy described her interests as a Big Ten football, so that probably still leads the way. I think if you're a Michigan grad, that's a kind of a birthright. Gymnastics, yoga, reading, pretty well-rounded. Some of the interview comments, she was likable. She would fit in very well. It was commented on 3 times. I think that was a correct assessment. Very mature. And then my personal favorite, she didn't really stand out. Excuse me. I'm just reporting the information. Stacy is originally from Michigan, enjoyed us after graduating from medical school at Rush. She's been a great fit for our program, indeed, and in fact really did stand out. She's been a wonderful resident and leader and served as one of our administrative chief residents, a somewhat thankless role, but one I will be indebted to her and our other chief residents for. She will start her surgical critical care fellowship at the University of Michigan next year, and I know is looking forward to being closer to her family again, and it's great to have her dad here with us tonight. Stacy. And it was appropriate that Brittany was over here taking a picture as well. Excuse me. The next person to introduce is Lauren Doherty. When she applied to residency, she described her hobbies and interests. Number one is playing with her dog. I think that's been somewhat consistent. Spending time with family, exercise, water sports. When we interviewed her, comments ranged from really liked her a lot, strong candidate, strong academic record, no interest in academic medicine. And again, there was nothing that stood out about her. There's a theme here, and particularly people who really did stand out. Lauren joined us after graduating from medical school at Eastern Virginia. We knew her because she spent a month with us as a student, and we were ecstatic to have her join us. She also stood out, and like Stacy, served as an administrative chief resident. She's one of those people who puts her head down and just gets things done. On a personal note, she's here today at the tail end of her honeymoon after getting married last weekend to Dave. Congratulations. Although from what I understand, her dog Bear is the most important man in her life. And I got to give Stacy Aubry credit for that line. She has a commitment to the U.S. Navy and will be stationed next year in Okinawa. Thank you. Stephanie Gray is next on the list. When she was interviewed, Stephanie Gray was described as solid, will be successful, and brutally honest about not having great interest in research. Proved to be somewhat true. On her application, she wins the award for the most hobbies and interests listed, and there's somebody in every group, right? There were literally 4 full lines. I stopped when I got past 10 things. There were the standard physical activities, hiking, running, yoga, horseback riding. And then this is a direct quote, a direct sentence. I create and taste new vegetarian recipes in my kitchen while listening to TED Talks. So let me unpack that sentence just for a moment. We have create, vegetarian, TED Talks. That's a barrel of buzzwords right there in one sentence. But that wasn't the best. The best was baling hay. Now, for context, her family did live on a farm at the time. So Stephanie grew up in a family of surgeons and came to UNC after graduating from medical school at St. Louis University. She grew up in the area and went to college a few miles north of here. We met her when she was a fourth-year medical student, spending a month with us, and knew she would be a great resident here. And indeed, that's true. She's one of those people that seems, at least for me, seemed like whenever I asked her to take care of something or brought something up, it had already happened. She also served as an administrative chief resident. We just go down the alphabetical list. Also recently married to Jack. Stephanie will be spending next year at Carolina's Medical Center in Charlotte as a surgical critical care fellow. Thanks, Stephanie. I think the number of pictures I will look awkward in is 7 out of 7. Mia Klein is next on the list. She described her hobbies and interests as some of the standard things: cooking, baking, exercise, going to the beach. I think that resonates. I think those of us who have gotten to know Mia recognize that's probably true. On interviews, seemed like a great fit, presented well, excellent. And then my personal favorite was, I wasn't fully convinced she's committed to compliance processes. Sometimes the comments reveal a little bit about ourselves, so I'll thank Dr. Udekwu for that one. Mia came to UNC after medical school at Florida State. She is indeed a Florida native, and we were ecstatic to have her here. As a clinical resident, she's been excellent. She also spent 2 years in the lab working with Dr. Kibbe, so she's the longest tenured member of this graduating class. While she was a resident, we got to celebrate the birth of her daughter, Ellie, with her and her husband, Jonathan, and we hope that their second child waits just a little bit longer before arriving. Mia is headed to the University of Florida next year for her surgical critical care fellowship. Thanks, Mia. So Peter Marskinkowski is our next graduate. In his interviews, he was described as engaged well during the interview, genuine and honest, and then by one person, nervous and timid. He was a long-distance runner, ran marathons. For anybody who's looked at applications, there's a lot of marathons listed on those hobbies. But perhaps most significantly, he was a competitive tennis player. I didn't know until I reviewed his application that he was ranked 8th in the state of Georgia growing up, and actually it's a pretty significant accomplishment in the Southeast. Peter's a Georgia native and attended Emory for college, where he also played on the tennis team. After attending medical school at UNC, we were super excited to have him stay here for his residency. And he is exactly who we thought he was, a genuine, honest, thoughtful person who has been a great resident. The kind of person who routinely spends extra time thinking through things to make sure he hasn't missed something. Peter and his wife Laura will be moving to Columbus, Ohio next year, where he will be starting his critical care fellowship at Ohio State. Congratulations.
It's a pattern. Here we go.
And I think Dr. Kearney in the back might have had a little chest pain. It's the Ohio State University. I apologize. Our next two graduates actually joined us midway through their training. And Manuel Sanchez Casalonga is the first of those. When we interviewed him, he was described as an excellent candidate, very motivated and engaging, and average. He also had a set of hobbies and interests that rivaled Stephanie's. It was almost as thorough. Taekwondo and Hapkido, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. I didn't even know there were differences there. Software development, speaks at least three languages. That reminds of the joke, there are those who speak 2 languages and those who speak 3 languages, and then there are Americans. And Manuel, indeed, was born in Argentina. Reading about startups and disruptive technology, and painting miniature models and chainmail armor. I think I could say this with love. I think you have branded yourself as a nerd if you write that. Manuel, as I said, was a mid-residency addition to our program. After attending medical school at Albert Einstein, he began his residency at Mount Sinai, Beth Israel in New York City. Secondary to some program changes, we were fortunate to recruit him to an open position we had as a PGY4 resident. He came highly recommended, has done a great job since joining us. He and his wife Annie arrived with one daughter, Violet, and we got to celebrate the arrival of their second daughter, Rosie, with them earlier this year. We look forward to Manuel staying here at UNC with us as a minimally invasive surgery fellow next year. Thanks, Manuel. And last, and then I will sit down and stop bothering everybody, is Chuck Schaefer. Chuck also joined us as a PGY4 resident around the same time Manuel did, but even under more significantly challenging circumstances. It all happened in such a hurry, and I'll explain that in just a moment. But we really couldn't even find any records of any interview comments. He came down and interviewed us for a day. We couldn't even find any comments. His hobbies and interests were on his original application: basketball, racquetball, golf, painting. You got to show the sensitive side. And then not just listening to podcasts, but specifically the Behind the Knife surgical podcast, just in case anybody was worried about his commitment to surgery. As I said, he was another mid-residency addition to the program. After spending his undergraduate years at Penn State, he graduated from medical school at Nova Southeastern and began residency at Drexel in Philadelphia. When that residency closed with short notice, it worked out great for us that we were able to recruit him to join UNC. He did a great job figuring out a new system with literally a few weeks' notice in the transition and has been an excellent chief resident. Recently engaged to Kate, he will be pursuing plastic surgery next year in Atlanta at Emory University. Yes, I will stop monopolizing.
All right, so I'd like to now invite Dr. Jahan Wood up to the podium.
Thank you all for letting me say a few words about our awesome graduating residents from plastic surgery. So I'm going to start with Dr. Pavlov. Dr. Pavlov came to us from Mississippi. Anna is someone who truly tells it like it is. If you ask her a question, and even if you don't, she'll give you her honest opinion. I think that this is a refreshing quality. Anna has been a wonderful resident, a team player, a leader, a compassionate surgeon. I had the privilege of taking Anna to the DR and really got the chance to know her on a personal level. She's quite fun if you didn't know already, but more importantly, she has a very strong work ethic and skilled hands in the OR. Anna puts forth great effort to be her best every day and to provide comprehensive care to her patients. Now that she has entered the final months of her chief year, Anna has taken on a new role, mother to 3 adorable cats. If you follow her on Instagram, you will see why she is now affectionately known as the Crazy Cat Lady. We have no doubt Anna will be as successful in her new career. She'll be returning to Mississippi, where she will be working in a practice focusing on general plastic surgery, breast reconstruction, and aesthetics. We wish her the very best of luck. We will miss you. Okay. Dr. Dr. Reddy came to us from Georgia. That's an inside joke. Hotlanta, and as such, she has been dubbed our program's unofficial social chair. I do want to thank her for taking charge of our Instagram. I hope you found a worthy replacement. Krishma has really grown over the last 6 years to become not only a very skilled surgeon, but also a wonderful mother to her son, Keon. Krishma stands out to me as someone who is incredibly sympathetic to her patients and passionate about providing the best care she can. She has a huge heart that is evident not only in her patient care, but in her unyielding dedication to her family. I commend her for her incredible work ethic all the time, but especially during her pregnancy. She did not miss a beat. Krishma has been an invaluable mentor for our junior residents. We wish Krishma and her family the best of luck in their move to Richmond, where she will be joining a private practice offering aesthetic surgery and breast reconstruction. You will be missed.
All right, so as we bring tonight our short graduation event to close, I just really want to again recognize all of 16 of our graduates, the fellows and the residents. This has been a super long journey, and you guys are all going to go off and do incredibly great things. I am confident of that. I want to thank all the program directors for their hard work with all of the programs from the residencies and the fellowships, because It really does take a lot, and you can see our program directors really do care and get to know all of the graduates. Now, before I let you guys go, I want to remind you that we have a lot. Your Oldwell, your other certificates are all over here, so you must not leave this room without collecting your gifts. And also at the conclusion, I would like all of the graduates and the PDs to come up so we can take the group photos, so don't go rushing out the door. So with that, again, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you guys all train here. We're going to miss you guys, but you're going to be amazing. Let's give a really loud round of applause. Congratulations, all of you guys. Woo-hoo. All right, so let's have everyone